Hello everyone, and welcome to Dragon Riders, episode number 6. Wow, hard to believe, 6 episodes. Got 2 more after this. Oof. So, Sheepdog was ready to do his intro, but has now forgotten to do his intro properly. So, hello everyone.
Gave you extra time.
Do this then.
Over preparedness, you know what that's like. It's suddenly everything's just gone. This is the Wandering Inn. I just looked over and saw Tash nodding at me like, yes.
You're doing so
you're
well.
Doing so
Keep
good.
going.
You got the name of your channel right. Well done. If you like Dragon Riders, then thank you. The system that I use, which I'm actually thinking I'm going to expand upon because I really like the Dragon Rider system. I think it could do with a little bit of expanding, just, you know, a little bit more detail to it and nuance to it. But the system as is, and when I expand upon it and build on it, the system is available on Patreon. You can become a patron for as little as $3 a month. And those $3 are better than a Twitch subscription. Fuck you, Twitch. And... Sorry.
This is the intro.
Literally everyone else on the stream is partners and are like, oh, not sure that's cool. But regardless, yeah, essentially all of the pledges on the Patreon go directly to the cast pay, and if there's any left over, then it goes into production like art and music and overlays and all that type of thing. You know, the aim is essentially to hopefully get to the point where a Monday show and a Friday show are fully covered, at least in cast costs. Those are the current goals on Patreon. You can go check them out. And once that happens, I can start thinking about expanding to other things. And there's always going to be doing other stuff because I have too many ideas. I was playing Deep Rock Galactic and came up with a like 30-minute show idea for dwarven mining TTRPG, where you're dwarves and you mine. That's it. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway.
Nothing's wrong with you. You have a great imagination.
Thank you. Can you tell that to my doctor?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll get on a plane.
Is the rule set beginner friendly? I would say not to beginners who are hoping to do something similar to Dungeons and Dragons. It's a lot more narrative based. The rules are very vague and very open to interpretation. The point of Dragon Riders is essentially they are super powerful and they can do whatever they want. It's just they probably won't because it's wrong or bad. Or, you know, there are some limitations. Yes, along with the Patreon, there is also a YouTube where all the VODs are. The links to those have been thrown up in the chat in Twitch right now. And if you're watching on YouTube, literally go to the YouTube channel. It's right there, and you can check out the other shows. Personally, I would recommend... God, I'm not sure. I want to recommend Moonkissed, because it's only 4 episodes.
If you want a little cry, watch Moonkissed.
If you want a little cry, watch Moonkissed.
So good.
It's 4 episodes. It's surprising how much it will get you in 4 episodes, I think. But yeah, there's more shows upcoming. I think probably in the next month or so, I'll announce the super secret special project that a lot of the patrons know, but haven't told anyone, which I find hilarious, because I'm like, you can tell people about the next show we're doing if you want. They're like, nah. Screw all those normal people, we're not telling them anything. Alongside that, there's a Discord and there's Twitter if you want to get notified when we go live. We also we got loads of channels in the Discord if you want to chat about stuff. And occasionally I do stream games on the Discord. We also Sorry, there's someone trying to chainsaw my house down. We also did a community night where we played Deep Rock Galactic when I had an idea for a dwarf TTRPG where you go mining, and that's pretty much it. Anyway, Tash, have I forgotten anything?
Mate, you're asking me. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, with that in mind, you can now look down at the title on the Twitch channel, and you can see the title of the stream, and you can see everyone here tagged. Tash, Ellie, Dan, and Katie are all tagged in the title, and you don't even need to go find their channels. You can just mouse over their name and then follow them. So do that right now. All four of you check your dashboards and suddenly you see like a couple of people like so and so has followed. Ooh.
You can set up alerts for following them. They're right there too. I didn't know that. Oh, cool.
They're also very color coordinated unintentionally.
Yeah, I like that, the color coordination. So we should probably talk about what happened last week, shouldn't we? Which it was wait, yes. So we had a little chat between Incinzia and Rithera after the death of her mentor, Crix, just about what they could do and what they maybe should do. And yeah, just things along those lines. They then all headed back and started to discuss really where priorities were and what direction they want to take. I think one of the issues that kind of cropped up is everyone has a slightly different preference. So I'm sure we'll see where that road lays. However, they were approached by a rider whose name is not on that piece of paper that I have in front of me. It's on the other piece of paper I have, which was Atolla Elise, and eventually trying to be stealthy but failing horrifically, her green wyvern, Disarden. They had a chat. Ultra got upset. Disarden, Atolla's dragon, had a big argument with Ultra and made her more angry, I think. However, she is from a small group of riders up in the mountains who are focusing on dealing with incursions with creatures, with essentially ignoring the human element of what it meant to be a dragon rider, and are trying to cull the monster populations when needed to stop them from incurring from
Incursion's right. Like
yeah, from
the...
incursions into the main human population and things like that, which has happened of recent. For example, a giant waddly basilisk wandered around and did some damage. Because while they were up there, they were also she also came from Aradan Trueshield, who was one of the who was a rider who you met who had kind of lost faith in everything and decided to head up into the mountains. Essentially, they had encountered something, a strange snowstorm or something up there that had kind of worried them a bit, and the riders had suggested that it might be a primal. Therefore, Atolla and the riders, along with all of their dragons, have devised a plan to sneak into Harrowhold, which is currently being excavated by the forces of Cargilia, and see if they can recover some texts and some histories. I'm pretty sure Cassandra has some knowledge, or well, not knowledge of, but knows that there are some texts that can probably help them. So, with that in mind, I think that what we'll do is we'll join the riders. And I'm assuming you wanted, as I remember last week, you wanted to wait till nightfall until it was dark. So, you will be at night at the edge of the morsel grounds, which is essentially where you used to take your dragons hunting. Takes you a reasonable way out of the swamp, more into the forest, and you'll be on the edge of the trees, a little bit a ways from the main site of Harrowhold, which is mostly rubble and big chunks of giant rock from a mountain that blew up. And you can see the fires in the distance for the encampment that is currently excavating. And it's essentially time to plan, time to execute said plan, and hopefully time for everything to go well. And obviously, Atolla and Desardin are with you. I believe the plan was to utilize some Incensia mist to kind of like cause a illusion or etc.
We were gonna, I believe, set a fire in the food stores and also use a mist to hide us, or like some of us who were gonna be swooping in.
And if need be, have Argent and Cass that is standing by. Yeah.
And Perry has some little screaming crossbow bolts.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't remember that.
Ultra's just taking everybody's lead and is probably trailing behind everyone, but just kind of being very methodical though with each movement and just like checking to make sure all her weapons are at the ready.
Yeah, because Cassandra obviously pointed out I've only really trained with. Oh, I have a stave, so it was going to be just swap out weapons.
Yeah.
So that's fine. We're ready. We feel ready.
Okay. So, I guess my question is are you going in just as yourselves as just the riders, or are you taking the dragons too? Like, what's the?
I feel like we were going in with Argent and Incensia because Argent won't dissipate the mist as much.
Yeah. It'll be quiet. There'll be no flapping of wings.
And we'll be able to sort of
and
get
Cassandra
out of there quick.
Yeah. You two know. They know what the books will be like since they've read some of them.
Yeah.
And the rest of us were just going to stay out if distraction or fighting was needed, or if more fire was needed. Like our backup plan if everything went wrong was the green flame, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, in that case, Atolla will say, I will retreat a ways and mount up on Desardin. If you fire one of your arrows to signal things going wrong, I'll set fire to the part of the forest.
Very good.
Okay. Good luck, and I hope we can find what we're looking for.
Yeah.
We hope so too.
Yeah.
I have every confidence we will, so...
Noticeably, Desardin says nothing as he leaves.
After she's gone, I'd like to just say to Cassandra, we definitely need to look for things on the eggs.
Yes, I
We
suspect...
could mention that earlier, but
Yes, I mean...
maybe not top priority, but
the primals, and then the eggs, and as much as I can carry, and then and
do
then
you
some
want
info
my-
about the Frozens.
Do you want my
Sorry?
sack? I'll take all of my reserves out and you can extra storage. Did we bring that?
I mean, there's. I imagine I'm kind of
You've
labored
got
with
enough bags, and I'm
bags.
just like, hey, mine.
You want some more bags? I'm like, I feel like a set of like some. We'll have the. Well, Argent obviously has the normal satchels. I don't know if I can physically carry any more, Ethera.
Understand. We're just counting on you, and you've got this. I just want answers. Sorry.
Could I get a resolve from both Perry and Tourmaline, please? Tourmaline, you'll have two. This is magical based, and I believe you have a couple of magical tags that help you with that stuff, right?
I have hunting, claw, weapon. Oh, that's the Ulja. Never mind. I'm magically gifted. Obviously, stamina, patient, temperance.
I would say patient would actually work here.
I have
Okay.
patience.
Oh, then you can both use the patient
Tourmaline
tag.
taught me patience.
I forgot about that.
So that'll be a 4 success gate for Tourmaline and a 5 for Perry. Damn, Tourmaline is yeah, okay. Tourmaline, you are sensing something you haven't sensed for quite a bit. Different, but unmistakably the residue of magic, which means that the military outfit that is here has at least one mage. And as you are kind of tasting the air and looking around, you notice a couple of very, very slight kind of inscribings, on one on like a rock and one further away on like a tree. And you realize, not through knowledge of magic, but through essentially the instinct of magic for you, that they have put down a few essentially sigils of warning. If you pass over them or too close to them, they will alert the caster, let's call them, to the presence of something. Now, the actual triggering of said warning is probably most likely a human, at a guess, because otherwise animals running over it all the time would trigger it.
Okay, so I get all of that from my sense. Okay, so I'm obviously going to relay that to Perry immediately.
Yeah.
There's magic here. We must be careful. Humans, they step over or maybe fly over the wrong spot, it'll alert them.
Okay, that's big. And like Perry would kind of, as we're like trying to fly a little bit, like start frantically waving to try to get people close to him.
Yes, it would be good to tell the others.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Well, I'll zoom up and close to you.
Magical traps of some kind, basically. Sigils. Okay, yeah, that. They've got them set up somewhere around. If you pass over them, apparently humans, maybe dragons. It'll set off something, maybe an alarm or an alert, something.
Inconvenient.
Can you point them out, Tourmaline? Do you know exactly where they are?
With your roll, you can get like a nice little path through.
Okay.
Where people could probably go through. Dragons most likely could go through, but would be awkward. essentially going through the forest, and there's like there's a good kind of border like chunk of the forest, but after that it seems to stop.
There is a way through, and I know how. However, it may be hard for us dragons to go without triggering it. Past the forest, you would be past the danger of alerting them.
Oh,
But I do know how to avoid them.
Well, that's good. I mean, Incensia is compact, and Argent should be able to weave if needed. So,
mm,
do you think we would be able to navigate?
Incendia's iffy, Argent doable.
Argent should fit, but I do not think any of the rest of us could go. I am far too large.
Oh,
Right.
that puts a snag in it, doesn't it?
Yes.
Perhaps we could fly around and meet you on the other side of the forest. It would take time, though.
I would imagine they've got it on the other side as well. Well, would you not think if they thought to put it on this side,
from
defensive strategy?
what you can see, Tourmaline, it does extend as far as you can see along the woods. So it might be a perimeter.
Perhaps you are right. It goes on for a very long way.
Because we need to get Incinzia and I in there.
Could
Is
there a chance we could disable them, but in a way they wouldn't notice?
Do I know that?
There's nothing that you can think of, or at least that Tourmaline can think of being able to do. Actually, Tourmaline is probably the biggest danger, because she is more magically gifted than the other dragons. She's also, a bit more magically present. So if it's at all based on any type of like magical creatures, etc., Tourmaline being bigger and also magically stronger will warp the spells earlier than the rest of everyone else. However, there is someone who may be able, and I suspect he does. He already have an idea of what he might be able to do. Okay.
Yeah.
I can change how magic is interpreted at times. The properties of it could change how it triggers, or disable the trigger but keep it on so they don't notice. Perhaps.
Okay.
Sounds wonderful.
We can try it, and if Tourmaline senses a alert, then we can skedaddle. Yes, that's. If you feel you can, Argent, I think you can as well.
I think that could work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to try.
Okay. Argent, would you like to, and I'm assuming Cassandra as well, would you both like to basically have a little bit of a poke at these magical
Nudge, isn't it?
traps?
Like nudge away from alarm.
Much like you did with the Dragonbone tree, you can essentially investigate it and see what you can find out. Essentially, semi-mentally, you're going to be inspecting it. Much like, when one of the dragons manifests their power, you can see it, you can adjust it, and you can expand it or detract it as you like. So, this will be a power from Argent, please, and a control from Cassandra. This is related to magic, related to manifestation, and your abilities in enhancing and etc.
I have an enhancement tag.
You do. So that will be a 5 gate. 3, okay.
And 10 to each of us on that.
Damn, okay.
10 and
I
9 and a
suppose.
6 to each of us. What is that?
Yeah.
Hey.
We match. We're so in sync.
Alright.
We're getting there finally.
Both rolling a 10 as well is interesting. I will say that as you manifest your power and Cassandra kind of molds it and directs it towards this, you find for both of you a slight combining of thoughts and of purpose. You're both wanting to do the same thing, and you're both having the same thoughts and the same process of thoughts, which leads to a much more effective and quick analyzing of this magic. Essentially, this whole thing is a network, and it is maintained by 2 different mages. One mage would not have the power because the magic has to be maintained, which means that they have to essentially power this early warning thing. Obviously, once they choose to cancel out the magic, that's done. They don't need to maintain it anymore. But from the connection they have with the magic, you can see the tendrils of magic connecting back to the mages, and you can actually sense to a certain degree their thoughts and their minds. Both of them are quite lethargic. Both of them are quite tired through maintaining this, let's call it for sake of argument, a spell. What you have now essentially done is you have hacked their system. You have found yourself. I could actually see Arjun like, wait, I'm in the mainframe.
His little whiskers.
Yeah.
There's.
But what it means is that, yeah, with the successes you got, and with both of you hitting a 10, combined together, you have the ability to adjust the spell and what it reacts to, without the mages really noticing. You have the ability to set it off in certain areas as well, if you so want, to completely nullify it or enhance it or whatever. I will also say this: you can follow the thread of magic that you have connected to back to their minds. And essentially, this is all being presented to you in a very short period of time. Your minds are, to a certain degree, connected at a base level. It's almost combined together, your thoughts and everything. So you can have essentially an instantaneous conversation of, what do you want to do? What do we do? What do we, so feel free to.
My thought would be that we can nullify this area so we can all traverse through.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to set an alarm off, because that will probably, rouse them. But do we get a sense of their location from it, or would we have to follow that thread?
You'd have to follow the thread. But what I would say is, you would know through Argent, and Argent would know through essentially instinct of his heritage, that you can follow the thread, and you can either use it to spy or to control. So theoretically speaking, you could follow this thread mentally and take control of one or both of the mages with your minds, or use it to spy on what's going on over there. both rolled you both rolled well. You both rolled crits, and you both kind of are working in tandem at this point.
We could utilize them as the distraction, and they can't be used against us. Then.
I was in a similar mind. Is there... How long do you think it would take us to get the books, Cassandra?
I mean, we have 3 separate things to search for, but
An hour?
that I feel like that's plenty of time to be safe.
Could we set a trap? Would we be able... Do you think you could control my power enough to give them an idea to burn some of the tents in an hour? It would cause a distraction, and they would also then be unable to act against us. We could still potentially disable this small area. It's a little more work, but it could be very good.
I think we could. I don't know if we can set it as like a timer. And we still need to get into the library.
True. We could disable this and then have them start the distraction immediately then. That would be quicker and we would get to the library easier.
Yes, if we force them away to the food stores, for example. Though...
They would likely subdue the mages as a result.
If they can.
Which would be a good distraction.
And then they can't chase after us either. Yes.
Correct.
And we can all search for... Or multiple of us can...
I think it is still wise to continue the plan we had, though.
Yes, let's... Okay, we'll disable Therian. Utilize the mages. So we would like to do that, please.
Apologies, I was just giving Cassandra an idea based on her research.
Yes.
It would require you to pull down the current spell, but if that wouldn't be a problem if you get both of them, for example.
My thought with the control is that it would require a lot of probably concentration management from us, so I'd probably need some support. But if that worked, then we can just all go, can't we?
You're still going off the manifestation roll. This has essentially allowed you to access this and do what you like in here. So,
okay,
it's a possibility.
Instead of a loud distraction, we could lean into the weariness and cause them all to sleep. Get rid of the alarm system entirely and refocus their efforts to lethargy.
Building
the entire
on,
camp.
Building on that, yes. Cause the mages to put everyone to sleep? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And then there's no risk of the mist not working, or as long as we can maintain that concentration with the mage.
Yes.
And then we can also steal the food.
Also true. And
No
Cinzia
more
would
fish.
likely be pleased.
Right, so let's get
Um,
to it then. If you're
before you move any further, both Cassandra and Argent, could you please take the tag Mental Tether? What this means is essentially you have gotten to a point and progressed in your power to the point where if you mentally follow magic like this, if you, like when Argent did before, when Argent came back, he was thrown back. This time you can both feel each other's presence, so even if to some degree you get lost, you can always find each other. And it also means you strengthen each other mentally if you ever do something like this again. Additionally, you can also take the tag Deeper Meld.
Deeper meld.
All it means is that you have progressed along your connection with each other. In times of hardship and having to do extreme things in extreme situations, we evolve.
Yeah, champions.
Well,
2 tags.
we wouldn't go quite that far.
Minor champions.
However, at this point, again, dragons, dragon riders, you are pretty much the masters of the situation. So, please tell me what you do and how, because, you know, good rolls and the like.
Go for it, Ryder.
So I imagine almost as we dissipate this trap, it's almost like pulling on a thread, and all of it just seeps away. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's just gone. And as we follow that back to the mage,
the magic untethers from the traps and starts to flow back towards the mages. Both yourself and Argent catch on to that thread and follow it back. So as the energy returns to the mages, as they start to feel less lethargic, you both, I'm assuming one in each, you both
simultaneously, don't we?
Yeah, you follow that thread in, and as they kind of come back more to their senses, they were very lethargic, very kind of like cotton-headed, like slow to respond and stuff. As they come back to themselves, there is Argent and there is Cassandra, and you are suddenly, this is probably very bizarre for Argent, because you're now occupying a small, sweaty human body.
That's gross.
It's not cold-blooded. It's quite compact and quite hairy. None of the beauty of scales and all that type of thing. So
I can't constrict. I hate it.
You're not floating.
Gross. Touching the ground. I don't like it.
One of the things you'll recognize is that to some degree these two are probably related. Maybe not by blood, but by something, as you can feel some sort of magical connection between the both of them. Most likely why they were picked for this is because they could both utilize. One of them is a bit less powerful, a bit older, probably in their 40s. The other one has a lot of power, but less experience, is probably in his 20s, early 20s.
Which makes sense as mages, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I would just refocus and blanket everyone's consciousness within a distance to general drowsiness and sleep. I don't want anyone falling down, if anything, but like almost encouraging them to lay down and like sleep and not hear.
Same for Argent.
Yeah. There's a limit to what you can do. This isn't magical power that you're used to using. Dragons are different. They manifest their own inner power and you control it. However, it is easy enough for you to essentially seep out magical energy with a very lethargic kind of bent to it, where essentially you're draining both of the mages of their power and like sweating it out through their pores and just kind of emitting this kind of like sleeping agent all around them. I would say it takes maybe 5 minutes to disseminate, and it's very subtle, whereby everyone, and you can feel this in the mages too, because they're not immune to it themselves, you know, via your designs. Everyone starts to feel very lethargic, and slowly you see the camp transform from people standing and talking to slowly sitting down, leaning against things, and then a few snores, closed eyes, people laid down where they were, and eventually the mage's eyes start to droop, and you feel the consciousness kind of flickering there. You are at this point able to essentially disconnect and follow the thread back to yourselves, as they are falling asleep too.
Yeah.
The only thing you'll need to be careful for is not to go into their camp, because there is sleepy dust all over the place. And even then, some of you may be able to withstand it better than others. So.
Okay.
Just tourmaline.
For the rest of you, the Argent and Cassandra are still for a little over 5 minutes, maybe 7-8 minutes, and then both kind of shiver and come back to themselves at the same time.
Oh, well, there is now no need for the mist or nor the distraction. Everyone's asleep.
Don't go into their camp. You may fall asleep. This does put a slight hamper on getting the food.
Which was the secondary focus. So,
You put them all to sleep?
Yes, including the mages.
So none of them will wake up when we pass over the sigils?
well, the
Correct.
sigils are no more, but let's not make lots of noise.
That was going to be my next question after that is very impressive.
Argent is quite brilliant.
I follow your lead.
I suppose.
Will they wake up in time? Do we have a time limit?
We should go now.
It's not an exact science.
Should we mist just in case then? As a
Yes.
precautionary,
Doesn't hurt
in
to
case
be
something
safe.
goes wrong? And if?
Would be wise, I imagine.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Onwards we go.
On as we go. Are we all coming along? Is Tourmaline, Perry, Ultra, and Ardor coming along now? Or
I think the plan was still everyone to get close.
yeah, it's
Just-
still close. But like now we've got the. That's fine.
Yeah. Close for protection. Ardor's happy to be on scout duty and lookout.
Yeah, which would work because with the mist, just in case there's anything else out of range.
The majority, they are essentially camping outside of Harrowhold,
Mm-hmm.
kind of to the north a little bit, just outside of the mountain range and the kind of collection of like pillar mountains that are here. Your way is clear now with the your way is clear and the perimeter of alarms are down. So essentially, you're guessing you've got maybe an hour or two until the mist dissipates and possibly they start waking up. I will say it was a pretty blunt use of magic. You yourselves are not mages, so it was pretty much like infuse sleep into power, disseminate power, hope for best.
That's why it's like I don't know how long this is gonna last, but like having them outside as well will help because then they can set the like noise alarm off when we need to like when they start seeing.
Yeah.
Battle.
or Tormund starts feeling like them rousing, I guess.
Yeah. Again, considering the path that this has taken, I will say that you can all go in together and search the ruins of Harrowhold. There are buildings left. Some of them are partially untouched, some of them are partially crushed. The library itself has been excavated and partially rifled through, although it seems to still be in the process of being excavated. So,
Okay.
and there are multiple places. Like the library was the place where all of the information was kept, but due to the pod's learning and due to masters always wanting to pull things out, half of the time, half of the books were in other places where people were reading and studying and etc. So, would you like to do... I think with all with all 8 of you, and also some of your abilities, for example, Tourmaline and Perry being able to essentially liquidize stone and or turn it into gas if they want. I would say in an hour you could probably, and having lived there for a year, you can probably pinpoint the key locations that you want to go to and want to search for things. So instead of requiring a whole load of rolls, what I'm gonna say is, could everyone roll me their resolve? And if you have any searching or vision based, or just anything to do with like research, etc., these would all be good tags to use.
For instance, as well. For all our dragons as well.
Perry has none of that.
Okay, so
For the dragons as well.
right.
Yeah.
Rider first, then I guess easier.
Okay, yeah,
Obviously I've
Rider
got Dragon
first.
Law, so this is Cassandra. So
This is
3.
Perry. 2.
2, okay.
Not better than I expected for him.
This is for Rithera.
This one's for Ultra.
That's 1 for both of you, I think.
You're doing real great. We're struggling.
Perry did pretty well, like.
Perry got
Well,
2,
Perry
yeah.
did
Yeah.
well, and then
I got 3.
Ri-
So
ri-
that makes sense, doesn't it?
Rithera and Ultra are like, we found something, and it's like a cookbook. You know?
Well, I mean, that's probably quite useful. We've eaten a lot of fish.
True.
Hey.
It's one of Rithera's cookbooks on, like, you know, when she was living there.
She already knows that. Okay. And resolve from Incinzia here. How does she also get 3?
3.
Who knew Incinzia could read?
She can't read, but she can smell.
Smells like.
Smells like knowledge.
That was for Ardor.
Damn outdoors. 3 heads are better than 1, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently. Like it's to 3 good rolls.
I'm gonna say for Ardor, it's literally carrying more books at a time than anyone else can.
Pillaging the library, aren't we? We're just going to
So-
take
Just
everything.
throwing them onto
Yeah,
Ardor.
pretty much.
So, Ardor is just like grabbing as many books and like throwing them on her back, and then like, I have knowledge, and it's like,
I have book.
No.
it just
Can I?
Actually, now
there-
you're going to have to sort all of this.
yeah.
I was about to say, my powers only work for living creatures, right? Like it's not like I can eat a book and take its knowledge, right?
You've never tried.
They aren't organic, so well, I guess they are, but not living.
So Arjun got
Ar-
2.
Yeah, Arjun has reading writing, so
Yeah.
that'd be 2.
Ultra has 2. Oh, sorry. Tourmaline has 2.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say aside from Rithera and Ultra, you all did a decent job of picking up books and, you know, gathering. For the dragons, aside from probably Argent, it's mostly just as many as possible because you don't know what's important. I would say there's going to be a little bit of a bonus on what you get from Cassandra and Argent doing well, and Perry has a decent idea of these things. from the history that we have with the riders, well, with these riders, Rithera, Ultra are a bit less booky and a bit less researchy, so I'd say you probably find a couple of pieces that seem like they could be cogent, but unsure. And you find yourselves, I'm assuming, like, once you're done here, are you going to the camp, or are you just going to cut?
We're sure we have all the eggs, right?
No.
Do we think we have all the eggs?
If there were any eggs, your guesses would be they would have been where you found the eggs. But that is one of the things that your riders never spoke to you about. Where they got the eggs from, why they were there, why there were 44 of them. So,
I think if I remember right, the 5 we got were the 5 that directly detected by, I think, tourmaline.
they were the only ones within the chamber, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh. Are you thinking that you might want to pop in on them?
Yep.
How long has this taken us, do we feel?
Yeah, at this point, how much time has gone past?
Okay, would you like to hurry and maybe miss out on some stuff? Possibly. Or would you like to do a thorough investigation for books?
Can I separate from them?
You can. And I will say your presence will be the least harmful, along with Ultra. Like, you not being there, you guys did do a great job of finding books. So,
Okay, is well offended.
What do you want
Been a
from me?
rough few days,
Whoa,
okay?
you rolled badly.
So I feel like Rithera, after some time, if she's not feeling like she's being useful, she's gonna be like, our next huge thing was the eggs, and
Mm-hmm.
for peace of mind, I would love to go see if I can find more.
Okay.
And I would mention it. I wouldn't be like, hey, peace out. She's just gone.
Mm.
You find yourself in front of the large boulder slab that covered the egg vault for Harrowhold. The tunnel in the rock that goes down into the vault appears to be essentially untouched. The reason for this most likely is that the majority of the excavation seems to have been centered around the buildings and the mountain where there were buildings alongside the mountain. Possibly looking for the most important things where the riders would probably keep them. It wasn't common knowledge about the vault itself, which would also imply that very possibly, even if they do have a rider master, that master may not have told them everything. Because they haven't checked it. You go down inside, you do see the remains of the master. You didn't do anything with him. And you head towards the vault, which is closed.
Do I know how to open it?
No. It was opened before, when you came down here, assumedly by Agatia One Eye.
What kind of door? Is it metal? Is it
It's stone.
stone?
It's possibly. How much? Oh, you know what? Rithera knows about stone. She's from
Yep.
She's from the Baran people, which are literally mountain people. It's obsidian, volcanic.
Okay.
And it has inscribed upon it runes and markings. none of which you can translate or read. But
Okay. So it would be pretty obvious I'm not getting in there without help.
you can take, considering what happened when you initially came down here with with the Rider Masters and your egg hatched for you. There's very likely a password or passcode, and this place is magically sealed. So unless you have a way in, who knows what would happen if you tried to force your way in.
Okay. Okay. I will go back up.
Okay.
And pass. As people are maybe running by, if I can catch anybody's attention.
Everyone's in the area, so you could even go and talk, pull someone up who's running with books and like super important things.
I like to think I'm still helping and like I'm just grabbing the most unhelpful books. like the
Bedtime
history of
stories
rocks
for-
or something like that. And I'm just like,
baby dragon riders.
yeah, lullabies for dragons, and like that's what I'm grabbing. Well, actually, that might be helpful.
It could be helpful.
Really helpful.
Just imagining like Linden style table etiquette.
Oh, that group could use it.
Oh, just unhelpful books, maybe some novels, just romance novels, things like that. Just running that to the dragon.
Alcha, do you remember if we closed the vault to the eggs when we left?
All I can seem to remember is the body. Not if we closed the door. Because I know we left them.
He's still there. The vault is closed.
Logically, I feel like we would have closed it because it's the dragon eggs were, but I can't remember.
I wanted to check if there were any more.
Do you think there are?
Something's been telling me to go back and check. I don't know if that means there are or aren't, or it's just I can't imagine eggs falling into anybody else's hands.
Maybe it's good the door's closed, but since I can't remember if we did that, then maybe that's not good. Maybe Cass or Barry would know. They have better memory than I do right now.
I don't know if I want to distract them from their mission at hand, but I also do think that this is important.
You see me carrying these books, and you can just see like the unuseful titles just that I'm balancing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm helping.
And you're doing incredible.
I think it's important to ask, especially since it has to do with more dragons.
You keep going with the books and I'll approach the others.
I'll nod my head and then bring this load to the dragons and head back in.
Romance novels.
Yeah. Can I roll again to try a little bit better?
Try better for the books.
Yeah, like to try to be like, oh, because now that Rithera has said like they're working really hard, I feel like a slight responsibility that if she's gonna ask Perry and Cassandra, that I should be a little bit more like careful about what because I think Ultra's just kind of been like, yeah, whatever, this looks good kind of thing. Maybe now I have a little more intent.
I'll say you may re-roll, but at a 7 success gate instead of a 6.
Oh my God, that's fair. I'm down for this. Okay. It's resolved, correct?
It is.
Okay. Can I use my clarity? That will do a -1 on it. I can drop it. Okay.
So you're rolling for 6s.
Okay. Got 1 6.
That's Yeah, it's very
The
similar
same. That's the same, I think.
I like to think that I'm like, yeah, I'm really gonna help now, and I'm doing the same exact thing I was before. But I'm like, yeah, this book, for sure this book, just with more confidence now.
Look, Silent Night Dragon Knight. It has dragon in the title. This must be important. And it's literally just
Book
a song.
7.
It's books that like are out of order. I'm leaving behind certain numbers of the series that would be important. Yeah, not helping.
I mean, you're getting the books they don't need out the way, you know.
We need entertainment, life
Yeah.
is short.
Yeah. Well. So,
To Cass and Perry, if I can catch them both in the same room.
yeah, well, you could probably catch them. Let's say yes, you for the sake of
Just
not
for the
making you
sake of.
for the sake of not making you say the same thing twice.
Quick, before you run away, do you know if we closed the vault to the eggs? Did we close the door?
No.
I don't believe so.
We got out of there as fast as possible. We
The
got the
door is
eggs.
Closed.
Automatic timer, maybe? I mean, think about it. If it's magic, right?
Magically sealed.
Well, yeah.
There were runes all over the door.
We
Yeah.
really should have made sure we shut the door.
Right, but how could have we? We didn't know. Didn't they speak a passcode when we were there years ago?
Gosh.
Yes.
So maybe there is something, it opens it for a short period of time and then shuts it? Or you'd have to speak a passcode to shut it then, if that's
Yeah.
the case. But then who did that?
There's no getting into that door, I don't think, without magic or help.
Maybe
It's obsidian. Maybe tourmaline.
Maybe
From
melt it?
what
No.
I remember, did he not have a... Did he not leave a handprint on the door?
So then,
Yeah, the
was
bloody
open.
handprint.
for us, yes. But
Um,
now it's closed.
So whether it's a word or opens in response to a rider or a master, perhaps?
I wonder if it opens in touch to a master.
Maybe.
Master and phrase.
Or just dragon power flowing through a master, maybe. That could also maybe work, or Alvarida phrase?
I didn't try, but I did
Oh.
want to check if there were more eggs.
You could see if the power of your dragon might let you get in there. You were voted one of the 2 leaders, essentially. You're, by and large, considered a master in that regard.
Thank
Maybe
you
the
for
door
your
will know.
confidence.
You're very welcome.
So for Sheepy, we remembered that he'd left a bloody handprint on the door. We are trying to ponder if it was a keyword and or his touch that opened the door.
I can tell you that when the masters opened the door for you, when you got your eggs, it was a word,
Right.
but yeah.
Okay. I didn't.
The word wagons.
Wagon.
I suspect it is not.
That would be extremely convenient if it were.
I'm happy to go try if you don't mind me pulling in Cynthia.
Can I really rack my brain as to what it was, or if I've seen anything or a book that might... There has to be some sort of failsafe, right?
So the problem you have here is when you heard them speak, you suspect that they weren't speaking a language that is commonly known.
Mm-hmm.
The theory you probably had at the time was that it was some form of dragon language. The problem is the communication between dragons and riders is automatic, and is growling, and like ordinary humans hear growling, they hear etc. Because you are melded to your dragon.
Now we would understand it.
Yeah, it translates what they're essentially meaning and to a certain degree saying.
Okay.
So what you heard before, if it is indeed a draconic language, it's not one you've ever heard, and therefore not something you can really translate, even if you could remember what it was.
I mean, if we can't access it, then I would hazard a guess that nor can others. And if
Except for the master that's with Cargilia. And they're the ones excavating this.
yes, but she is not here.
Not at the moment,
Not at the moment.
but if they're excavating, they might be getting it ready for her to open.
What if there's a book on it?
Pretty convenient and pretty dangerous of a book to just have in the library where so anyone can open the door.
I don't know.
Possible, but
Sometimes people do the obvious thing because people don't think they'll do the obvious thing.
fair.
Who would expect someone to pillage the library of the Dragon Riders, after all?
Is there like a book section that's special books that you need special access to from the librarian? You know,
Is
where
there
you
a
have to like sign in and then they're like, I'm going to watch you. And you have to wear gloves and stuff.
Speaking like someone who's never been to the library, Ultra.
Exactly. He doesn't hang out in the library.
Is there special books for special people? Do they have pictures? Sorry.
Pop-up book.
There's like there's books where there's like the rare books are kept.
Yeah.
You know, like
fully-
behind lock and key.
Or like, yeah.
Where would the masters have met, like, if they were to have sort of not like an office, but where would they have met to make these decisions, like have a war council, like whatever was needed for the general organization? Because then my thought is the masters building is where those tomes and that secret knowledge would be.
So
Was that at the peak that got completely obliterated?
partially yes. The masters' houses were at the top, which was consumed in the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, when they met, they would to discuss things. It would be out in the open in the in front of the tree where you were all gathered on your first day. They didn't really have like a master's hut or anything like that. Like Agatia was the leader, as far as anyone was a leader. They pretty much operated with their pods reasonably independently, unless there was something big like when Desolation happened and they all came together and, operated underneath Agatia.
Yeah, so nothing's like springing to mind as to whether there would be a secret room of more important books.
So
I swear it's real.
There totally
I know.
is.
Because like if you go to a bookstore, you're like, I'm looking for the Charles Dickens or first print. They're like, well,
edition,
come to the back section. They make you put on gloves, and there's like $1 billion for one book.
what I will say is, if there's a vault like that, it wouldn't be kept at an individual roost, because they are independent to some degree.
It wouldn't be in Harrowhold.
Very likely it wouldn't be in Harrowhold. What I will give you is I will give you the considering some of you rolled extremely well, especially somehow Oddor, I'll give you the names of a few books that you have gotten that are important. So there is the History of the Empire. That is one of the books you've gotten. There is also the Myths and Legends of La'is. There are also the important ones, the accounts of past Rider Masters. Not just from Harrowhold, but from other places as well. You have the accounts of Master Rowley, Master Hannekin, Master Reynard, Master Berlote, sorry, and Master Milsant.
I missed one of those.
I will.
Raleigh Han.
Can you
please.
you post it for us?
I
I don't know how to. I don't know how to spell them, but I phonetically them.
You know what I'm like. I don't phonetic any of them.
No, you don't. So
Not at all.
I am wildly aware.
So essentially, what I can tell you, and yes, if you would like to have, given that role and the strangeness of Ardor being so effective, if you'd like to have been teaching Ardor to read and write, let's say read.
Maybe everyone.
To read.
Some people pick it up. Some dragons pick
Yeah.
it up better than others.
If you want, you can take the tag. I was gonna say mediocre. That's a bit harsh.
Rudimentary reading.
Rudimentary reading.
I will
Oh.
totally.
Sounds
Ardor will
far
totally
better
take
than
that.
mediocre reader.
Mediocre reader.
The reading comprehension of a 6-year-old.
If you don't go back into the vault, what I'll say is, Cassandra, you'll be able to read through some of the books a little bit just to get an idea. You think you've gotten enough for what you came for, and there may also be more information in here, but you need time to go through it.
Yeah, I think. We weren't going to be going through everything because we were just trying to get as much as we could and then like review it.
Yeah.
But we didn't take into consideration the eggs.
Should
Do
we?
we Yes? No, go ahead.
Should Cassandra and I continue to look, since we know the most key pieces of information needed, and the rest of you can try to puzzle out the door quickly? Harry could still ring an alarm if we need to escape quickly.
I would say at this point, if you keep looking and if you keep going, you're verging upon danger of them waking up at this point.
Okay. Yes, but we don't have much time at all. Do we take the chance that they're trying to get into the vault and that they know that we've been in here and we might not get another chance to come back? Or do we try and figure out if Tourmaline can get through Obsidian?
I will give you all this as well, just whether this makes a difference for you. You do remember when you went into the vault, it's pretty simplistic, and there's the pedestals and everything. There are only 5 eggs there. So, if it's possibly being restocked somehow, then there would be eggs in there. But aside from that, you left and there were no eggs in there. For
That's
sure.
that's what I thought. Perhaps we can reseal the entire corridor so the excavation would be even more difficult for them, rather than, I mean, Tourmaline can most likely dissipate anything we
Oh, you mean like seal it, make it so nobody can find it?
Yes. If they haven't paid attention to it already, then what's another cave in?
Agatia's body's still down there, so I don't think that they've noticed it at all.
It would kind of finally count as a burial for one of our masters, too. I feel like them being sealed there might actually be the most respectful thing possible.
Well, we left him, so why wouldn't somebody else just leave him too?
We were under the burden of no time, though, Ultra.
They might have looked to see if they had anything on them, at least.
Mm.
I know we wouldn't have left him if we had more time.
True, and it wasn't Cargilia that was first excavating here. It was the cities that actually wanted the Dragon Riders. They would have taken the master and probably given them a proper burial.
I don't know if this will be a bad idea, but what's to say that their skeleton can't open the door?
As in, no, they're not probably as... No, they might be. If there's a word that needs to be spoken, I think it still wouldn't work.
I don't know. You can see Ultra kind of going off into her own world.
But at least we
Magic
can-
bones.
Maybe.
The
but,
magic residing in the body, is that possible?
Would Tourmaline known?
We can take him with us before sealing it, so... Or
Oh,
if
we-
it's sealed, the mages won't have any... I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to draw their attention to it and the mages focus on getting through a door.
I think we might be overcomplicating it.
We might be. And this might be for all of nothing, and I've just wasted 10 minutes of our time.
Well, it's best to make sure it's secure. So seal the corridor along.
Bones seal the corridor.
If you want, and you won't need to make a roll for this, you have the time. If you want to seal the chamber, you can actually liquefy the stone and let it pour into, and then solidify it. And then essentially make it look kind of like a stone formation again, so it won't raise any suspicion.
Yeah,
But essentially
was-
just cover over the entrance completely and fill it in.
Perry's idea for sure.
Which would essentially be also a burial.
Just out of character, could Tourmaline just sense through the door to see if there's anything?
You'd have to go down there.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. But yeah, we were going down there anyway, so.
Yeah,
we're
I mean-
looking.
Okay.
I think Ultra would just be sitting there in thought, and then why don't we just see if Tourmaline can sense more eggs like the
Yeah.
first time?
We can check, and then if there's not, then we seal it.
We always know where it is if
Might
we
just-
feel we need to.
True.
Yes.
Might just be a battle to get back here.
Yeah. Okay, well, Tourmaline and I can go do that.
We'll come
you
with
wanna-
you.
Oh, okay. Are we done here, then?
I think we're gonna leave Cass and Argent up here.
Okay, just for the next few minutes before... Okay.
I'm helping,
Yes, you are.
so I'll be up here too. Again with the books that are just like unhelpful.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the I'm helping. I am.
I was just like saying, we'll leave Cass up here, and like Ultra's standing right there with this stack of books.
Well, I read real good. We'll stay up here and help. You guys go down. I got lots of books,
There are
and
a lot,
behind
yeah.
is just like this giant,
Just a big pile of books.
giant pile of books.
I'm just like loading them onto Ardor's back.
Yeah. Would you like to start transporting books back to the cave? Seeing as, you've pretty much collected what you need to. it would mean that once they're done in the chamber, then you can pretty much just take off before everyone wakes up. I would say you're gonna cut it a little bit close, but honestly, you guys rolled so well with the magic and the mages that you've got time.
I mean, yeah, Cassandra would be pushing it, finding like the last books that we possibly can anyway.
Yeah. So it's going to be, if I remember correctly, Perry, Rithera, Incinzia, and Tourmaline going down?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. You open up a larger, I will say, Incinzia can get down with pretty much basic ease. Tourmaline will find it a bit of a squeeze. Sorry, you are the biggest. And, you head down into the chamber, and could I please get a resolve roll from Tourmaline?
Yes.
This is magical.
Okay. If I've magically gifted, obviously. Does patience or temperance do anything?
Not in this instance.
Okay.
Okay, 3 successes. Nice. When you get down there, you feel a very, very faint thread of magic coming from the door.
Then something doesn't feel right.
And you can smell a whiff of blood in the air.
Smells metallic. There's blood.
The master did die here, like lost a leg, so that tracks. And you said the doors. Where's
So you know, the blood is dry. It's been quite a while. The body itself is mostly decayed away at this point. So there's not even a bad smell in here anymore. And I'll say in Cinzia, you cannot smell blood.
As Tourmaline, am I recognizing this as fresh blood? Okay.
It is fresh, Perry. The
Oh,
door feels threatening.
Did someone open the door after they got hurt and seal themselves in?
I'm like sniffing around trying to find this blood now. Like, how dare Tourmaline find it before I...
If you want Tourmaline, you can follow the smell. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, I think I've just perked up. Like, I know it's a very tight space, but I kind of stand up staunch. So, like, if a dog had its like haunches raised, kind of slowly creeping towards the smell.
The smell is coming from the door. The smell is coming from a handprint on the door.
It's the handprint.
One amp.
The handprint itself is slightly red shiny, almost like it's new blood. Not for any of the rest of you, by the way.
And I didn't notice that when I was down here before.
I mean, the handprint was still there, but it's for the rest of you. It doesn't look shiny, and it doesn't look or smell new.
The handprint is still fresh.
No, it isn't.
Yes?
No, it isn't.
Incinzia, I insist. It is still
Tourmaline,
fresh.
It isn't.
And
Harry.
you said, yeah,
Could it just be blood?
it might be. The word may be a distraction.
I will cut my hand.
Okay.
You will. What? Why? What?
And I'll walk up to the door and go to touch the door.
You touch the door. Nothing happens.
Tourmaline would like to lick the handprint. I know that. I know.
No, it makes don't laugh, everyone. It makes sense.
I know that Rithera just did like the fresh, but like maybe there's a spot where I can try to lick where there's not fresh blood on it.
What
From
the
Rithera.
Rithera put her hand on the door,
Yeah.
not on the handprint.
Oh, not in the handprint.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
I
okay.
wouldn't have. I would have let you, but I would have like gone over just to see if it was just that no saying.
Okay. So when I see that it doesn't work for Rithera and Incinzia is saying it's not fresh, I want to lick the handprint to see if it is fresh or if it's a magical vision that I'm seeing.
Yeah. You move forward. It's to extend your tongue up the handprint, and when you move your head back, you see a gate here in front of you.
See what?
And he looks up and says, "Hello, child.
Hello.
I left this imprint here in the hopes that someone would come to find me. I do not have long. Ask questions and I will answer."
How do we get inside the door?
You speak Kalash, and the door will open for you.
Kalash?
Kalash.
I would whip my head around and tell the because
As a sidebar, Tourmaline is talking to nothing.
okay, that's what I was wondering.
Do you have any questions?
For what? For what?
Questions?
To open the door, you must say the words Kalash. I am talking to the one who has passed.
And I look down at the body.
I also look down like, okay.
Okay.
They do not have much time.
Okay. Are there any eggs in there? Would be the next question.
Are there any eggs still inside?
No, the eggs are located on the Black Rock.
Where?
No. The eggs
No.
are located on the Black Rock.
Where is the Black Rock?
Where is the Black Rock?
It is an island off the continent a ways, hidden in the mountains of volcanic ash.
And I would relay that to everybody.
Oh. Okay.
Desolation?
You would like me to ask about desolation?
No. Sorry, that was an out loud. How
Yeah, how to beat it.
or how do we find new dragon riders?
How do we defeat desolation?
The combined forces of the Masters could not do it. I would not expect to be able to do it yourselves for many years at the very least. Hide, train, and get stronger. You have lost a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. You must regain, or you must rediscover anew.
After each time that I'm told this information, I just relay it to everybody.
And after each question, he fades a little bit more.
He fades each time. Would you like for me to ask about the dragon riders still?
Carrie, what do you think?
I think the primals would be the next question. How to reseal them, or maybe location for resources on how to sail them might be a better, more specific question.
Is there information, books, that we can get resources on how to reseal the primals.
I have very little knowledge of the primals. They were mostly myths and legends from before. If there is any information to be found, it will be in the journals of previous masters. And the handprint and himself fades a little more.
Do I get a sense of how many more questions might remain?
1, 2, maybe 3.
Okay.
How do we find more riders? Harry?
Sure. I mean, I think that one's a little more obvious. It's just if they don't want to be found, they're gonna hide. But yeah.
Well, we were called upon. Just
Oh,
called upon.
Well, but when we were originally found, it was a large number of us, and many did not become riders. It was kind of a shotgun effect. Whatever that is.
How do we find new riders?
Yeah.
How do we find new riders?
You may not want to. Instead of clinging to a failed system, you should perhaps think about creating something new to forge forward with. And he fades a little bit more.
May I ask a question? Unless there's something important, I do not think they have more time.
Please.
But this question will not give us more information. It will not help us on our journey.
I think we might have gotten pretty much everything we could.
Yeah.
So with a nod, like Tourmaline looks back at the apparition.
Are you at peace?
I did my duty to the end as best as I could. I died with no regrets, and I am content in what I managed to achieve with those under my care. Nothing is ever going to be perfect, but I can be happy with what I did in the situation, and that's all anyone can ever ask of me or of you. Tell that to your fellow dragons and your riders. It's not always going to be perfect, but as long as you do what you can, no one can hold you to account. And he fades, as does the bloody handprint, to nothing.
And you'd see Tourmaline bow, like kind of in a respectful way, and then just relay his last words to everybody.
Should we bury him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the ceiling would do that.
And Tourmaline would, as much finesse as possible, would go over and, because you said this person was like laying against the wall, like in a very, haphazard kind of way.
Yeah.
Just with her snout, just kind of start moving her, moving the bones as gently as possible to like laying down. And I don't know if this is possible for a dragon of Tourmaline's size, but to try to get the arms like crossed
You can
over.
Take the arms and put them over.
And then as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to go sit next to Perry and do my, not lazy sitting this time, sitting a little bit more upright.
attentive.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we? We
Yes.
should probably get out of here so we can seal
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So you leave. You... I won't require a roll for this. You liquefy the stone. It pours in to the now tomb and fills up. Then you essentially carve it slightly so that it looks in a rock formation. Doesn't take too long. And solidify it back up into a solid.
We should go. Like, probably now.
Yes, we should. Thank you, Tourmaline. Thank you, Perry.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Incenzia. I'll give a little pat.
Such a brat.
Such a Brad.
Would you like to head back to the caves with all the books and everything? I would say maybe there's a couple of people starting to stir at the camp. You wouldn't even know that, but you have the time to get out and away before people start to wake up. Okay. And
Peaceful.
as the dragons and the riders kind of take off through the forest, you gather up Atolla and her dragon and all head back to the caves, to the swamp, with the books and with everything, and essentially with the blessings of the old master to start anew, whatever that means. A quick question for Incenzia, for Rithera, Perry, and Tourmaline. Obviously, the other dragons and riders will have their own thoughts, but you were there for this. How do you feel about the statement from the leader of Harrowhold that the system they were operating within failed?
I mean, yeah, and Cynthia's like, yep, like, people have to look after themselves. We've said that, you know, it's, I mean, probably not in these words, but it's not sustainable for us to manage every little inconsistency and everything.
How does Incenzia feel that it in some ways echoes the speech that Desolation gave you?
Well, well, I mean, was he entirely wrong?
Open to debate.
Like, people were too reliant on it, on riders and dragons, and they have to look after themselves at a point.
One of the things that pretty much all of you have noticed at this point is that since Desolation has broken the system, let's call it, you have all experienced a forging forward in what you can do and in your abilities and in your connection to each other. Essentially, the extreme situation you were placed in, whereby everything was chaotic and everything was uprooted, has either caused, helped, or forced you into evolution.
Yeah, it's like ramping up the survival of the fittest, isn't it? Which isn't, you know, necessarily what Incensi would have picked
No.
for everyone to, but it is what has happened.
It is not an ideal scenario from any of your perspectives, but it is something that has happened.
And the system's gone, so yeah, he's right. It needs to be different. Yeah.
It's cementing thoughts for Perry, if anything.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, like, we're not talking about, like, what Ulcha and Cassandra think right now?
I would say you can, as I imagine you would have had this conversation heading back, as it's fairly important for all of the riders and all of the dragons. But seeing as the 4 who were there had a direct, kind of impact with that, I was wondering how they felt.
Mm-hmm.
So, feel free to embellish with any characters you want to, really.
All I was going to say for like Ulcha is she hasn't felt very connected to the Dragon Riders in general lately, like that lifestyle, and has felt like it has kind of made it more concrete, like, oh, my gut feeling that we need to make big changes maybe wasn't such a crazy thought. And kind of, in a way, gives her permission to not feel so guilty about how she's been feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Harry's in the biggest change possible would be becoming a king.
That's not wrong. I mean, you're not wrong that would be the biggest change possible. I'm not speaking as to the morality of it, obviously.
I think Rathera is just thinking about, we knew it meant change. What is the change? Like, she's more thinking of just like, okay, yep, like this confirms what, but that's not the big thing. Like, the thing that's in her mind that's seated is like, okay, but what is that change? How do we grow anew? And what is that? And how do we discover what that path is? Like, her brain is just already, what is the future?
Yeah. Okay. I will say you settle down back at the cave. There's a lovely meal of grilled fish being prepared. And you have time to look over the books. So for now, anyone who can read may pick a book to read over, and we'll go over it a little bit. So if anyone would like to pick out a book, I can give you the list of them, or the most important ones at least.
I feel like Cassandra would be organizing them to a point, because we just had such a volume from various people and dragons that we need to see what we've got and then work from. So that's her project for the evening.
All right.
Yeah. Argent as well is helping, probably alphabetizing them so that you can then easily find which ones go where.
So what I'll then give you, and you can explore this further afterwards. You have the history of the Empire. Pretty simple. It details the history of the Empire, the war with the dragons, the eventual rise of the Dragon Riders via Niane and the dragon who formed the first meld with Niane, and the fall of the Empire. Pretty much details everything that you need to know. There's possibly nuance in there, but you haven't delved into it completely. And with all of these, then you have the myths and legends of Lais. There are references and examples of both primals, dragons, and mages to some degree, talking about where they came from, the evolution of dragons, the evolution of mages, and the evolution of, well, not the evolution, the origins of primals. And I'll say one little bit I can give to you is that they are sometimes referred to as primordials as well. Going forward, we'll go through the accounts of some of the riders, masters. The accounts of Master Rowley is an encounter with a primordial force of snow. It is not a physical presence. It is described as a presence. It is not described as an entity or a physical being. If you'd like to read further on that, let me know. If anyone else would like to do a little research. Then there is Master Hannikin, which details the story of the Seven Brothers. their rise as mages in the Empire, and essentially their fall when the Empire attempted to eradicate the Seven Brothers. There's more details in there, but again. Then there is the writings of Master Reynard, his recollections of Niane, and of Rocknest Evening Spawn, which was the wild dragon who Niane melded with. The treaty, and the construction of the Vault of Niane. From Master Belote is the communications with a wild dragon, informing of the reawakening of the lurker and the efforts to reseal it. And finally, the writings of Master Milsant, which details Niane's death defending the vault during the remnants of the Loyalists' attempts to steal dragon eggs.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
A lot for us to read.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to specify a priority here? I would say that Atolla is most interested in the accounts of Master Rowley and would like to read that.
Yeah, I mean, that's expected. I would say we're concerned about the lurker currently, so like, gosh, she's gonna be bossy and pass it off to to the others to like, you research this, okay?
Yeah, but what would you have Perry read?
Probably the construction of the Vault of Niane, so Reynard's recollections.
Okay, cool. If you can just type in the Zoom chat what your character's reading, so I can, for my reference. There's gonna be a lot.
Oh, I would. I'm
Perry's-
defaulting to Cassandra to like give me what to do, because clearly, or if Cassandra sees me reading a book that is not helpful, I would hope that Cassandra would come over and be like, "Hey, can you read this one?"
Yeah,
and
she's
take
like,
a-
these are priorities. These are what we are reading.
Okay.
So Perry has the Reynard.
Yeah.
I would say I'm gonna give Milsance to Rithera, which is when the Loyalists
Steal
tried
the
to steal dragon
dragon
eggs.
Yeah.
Niane's death, yeah.
Can Ultra cover Rowley with with
Just because I
Atolla?
didn't pick books out doesn't mean that I am unintelligent and
No,
can't read a
but-
book.
But
She can
Cassandra's thought is that she's going to want to take that book
Mhm.
back to her people, so we need to know as much as we can from that, or like
She'll
how many.
she'll give you information if you need it, so she can
Yeah, I'm
express
just
that
trying
you.
to like make sure I'm like covering them all. How many books do we have? Because I think
I don't want to say you could give Ultra the least important book, but you could give Ultra the least important book.
I rolled bad. I'm not an idiot.
I mean, do you want to read the Hannikin one, which is the story of Seven Brothers, which is Rise as Mages and their
I would
deaths?
read whatever Cassandra feels comfortable with giving Ulcha.
With skill
mean-
and enthusiasm, thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, there's 5 books, right? So
Yeah.
if they've got Rowley, if you have Hannikin, Construction of the Vault is with Perry. Cassandra's going to cover the Lurker, as that is sort of a immediate problem for us. So
So that's Belote.
Belote, yeah. So everyone's got one book.
Of the masters. And then there's the myths and legends.
Myths and
and
the
the
history.
history book.
Yeah.
Yeah. The history.
I think Rithera would also say that she is curious about the myths and legends. but I don't know how thick these books are and how much time they would take.
The myths and legends and the history of the empire are multiple volumes.
Yeah.
Oh,
and, like,
big,
okay.
beefy, kind of like.
Smart. Argent
with
taking
myths
myths and
legends.
legends. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the only one that's like not currently being read is History of the Empire.
If there was still a
Correct.
book left,
Ardor could nose through.
Yeah, do you
our
wanna...
Hardor would be like,
Oh, there's
I
a War
can
of Dragons. You're gonna be like pissed about that. Or do you want Ardor to read about Neon's death defending the vault, and then Rothera with the history and big overview?
Yeah, maybe I'll take history and we'll give Ardor the eggs. As a dragon, also having the dragon sense of understanding the eggs, I think might be a nice.
I'll put all these in our chat so you've got it. If someone wants to
If the other dragons wanted to learn about eggs, I know Ardor would probably be like so excited to be like, I can tell you what I'm learning and reading.
Yeah, I imagine there's like information being shared if something
Yeah, it is of
pops
importance.
up of relevance, isn't it? Or interest for the others. Incincy is not that into it. It's not that useful. I'm gonna go make sure everything's fine and probably go a bit hunting. So.
Alright.
Sorry, I'm gonna write these notes if someone wants to.
Okay. So, would anyone like the first bit of info on what they're reading? Any preferences from the group as to which piece of writing or book we draw from first?
Myths, Argent's a fast reader.
Myths and legends?
Yep.
Okay. So it is much more about it's interesting. It's about how theoretically the mages came to be a thing. It's about how theoretically dragons came to be a thing. Some of it is kind of like Red Riding Hood. It's oral tradition passed down that has been embellished upon. Some people say that dragons were born from volcanoes, and there's a story in there about a dragon being born from a volcano. The primordials were beings of great power, some who were forces of nature, which were destructive sometimes and helpful sometimes, and others who were benevolent, who helped or who assisted, and others who were just scary, destruction, change. And all of them are centered around places of natural power, deep forests, volcanic islands, the center of these places like deserts, mountain ranges, frozen wastes, swamps. It doesn't really go into detail as to how many there were, but it seems like in the beginning times of humanity, of when people started realizing there were people, I guess, there was always this push for survival. There was always this push to find places untouched by change and untouched by kind of these swirling powers that existed, and that's where the first kind of residence took place, where people came together into tribes, into villages, which slowly grew, and as the cities and villages grew, the primordial forces receded. The dawn of sentience, well, not sentience, the dawn of reason came with a reduction in chaos, and parts of La'is eventually became calm and stable. For the mages, the stories present people going to visit primordials, going to seek boons, and coming back with extreme abilities. Whether that's true or not, again, these are myths, these are legends, these are, things that have been passed down for centuries, possibly thousands of years. The only other one I'd say that would really stand out would be the story of the Chimera, which was essentially a legendary beast of like a chimera is in our world. It's lion and snake and eagle, kind of all mixed together. And it was a being that, according to myth, appeared during the kind of primacy of the dragon. Once the dragons had been around and they had been powerful, around about maybe a few hundred years before the war with the Empire. There are stories and myths and tales of a ally of sorts for the Empire, which went after dragons and was essentially almost like a natural predator for them. But there's been no sign of them, and everyone assumes that they are a myth, or it is a myth. There's some, I would say, dipping into the history of the Empire, some of the mages and some of the researchers in the Empire assumed that the Chimera was some type of primordial. The problem is that it didn't stick to a power base like any of the other primordials do. Invariably, what appears to be part of the myth, part of the story of primordials, is they have an area of influence which is then the core of their nature. So a swamp, a forest, anything along those lines, and that spreads out from there, and then essentially forms a border, which is its area of influence, and it stays there. So, if you would like to believe myths and legends, which Argent's reading, if the Lurker does rise, it will expand its territory to a certain point and then stop. I will say that there is no specific territories mentioned for any primordials or any of these things.
Fine.
And
Take everything with a grain of salt.
Yes, I was about to say, literally take everything in that with a grain of salt, because it is very much unreliable accounts and stories and etc.
Yeah. I think Argent and Cassandra have done enough research before to, everyone's got a bias, even if they don't mean to. So, yeah, that's fine.
Any preference for anyone for next? What you'd like to get info on?
I'd say the lurker, as that is our sort of nearby and immediate like threat. If that's okay, everybody.
A wild dragon from outside of the continent of Laos travelled to Harrowhold, as it was the closest, as the lurker was. This was probably like 100 years after the Empire fell. And informed the master of the time that the lurker was reawakening and the seal was weakening, and offered to assist them in going to the deep roots and negotiating for bones.
Okay.
It details the travel there, being attacked by the trees, being even up in the air. They essentially had to fly so high that they were in the clouds. Otherwise, the trees, some of them are quite high, and also quite aggressive. And eventually coming to a very tall, frozen white tree in which lurked a giant snake, is the best description that it can give, and negotiating with it for the bones of the tree, essentially to meld into the seal, to repair it and to re-empower it.
Okay. Tapping a lot of notes.
Sorry.
That's all right.
There's a lot of lore.
There's a lot of lore. I'd say Rowley from Otala.
Rowley, of course.
As that's the immediate-ish one also, please.
So, Master Rowley refers to an encounter with a presence that was like a snowstorm and a hurricane all in one, that would appear in places in the frozen southern areas past the mountains. There was never any... There didn't seem to be much sentience to it. Like, it didn't even seem to know that it existed, if you know what I mean. Like, it wasn't just... It wasn't that it didn't have reason. It almost didn't have the awareness of itself. It seemed to move and from place to place, and it was fairly destructive, but in Master Rowley's accounts, it never really pushed anywhere near the mountains. It mostly kept to the pure barren wasteland of the frozen south. So, in his writings and his teachings, in his accounts of what happened, they decided to leave it as is, as any encounter with a primordial force or with a primal is discouraged.
Is there a does he specify the discouragement?
I'll take from the myths and legends, the force they represent is very often on a very large scale, especially within their territory.
Okie dokie.
I mean, you know, like, you remember when there was a giant black fire explosion on the volcanic island?
You know, that one time.
Yeah, think like that.
Milsant?
Milsant. Yes,
Model.
after the Empire was overthrown and people were celebrating, Niane got word, along with Master Milsant and a few others, of an attempt to break into Niane's vault on the Black Rock. And so her and a few other masters went there and ran into 2 of the 7 brothers. Unfortunately, a couple of the masters who were with them were overpowered, and a fight ensued, leading to the death of Niane and her dragon, which is why the Black Rock is now called Niane's Fall. They were, however, successful in repelling the 2 brothers. They were not, however, successful in, the word used was destroying them. It does not go into details of exactly what happened in the fight.
Okay, and then we've got 2 left, which we have the general history of the Empire, and we have construction of Fort Niane. I think kind of want to save Reynard's till last, so history of the Empire, please.
Unless you're looking for something specific, like information specific, the history of the Empire is vast. Again, same with the myths. The history is vast and spanning over a long time. You know, you have the rise of the Empire, the mages essentially becoming, well, one specifically strong mage becoming the Emperor and essentially leading, I wouldn't call it a crusade, but it was a vast military operation over maybe 150 years to conquer the entirety of Lais and subjugate all of the smaller tribes, villages, and even cities. Until eventually the Empire spanned from coast to coast all around the continent. Then
Definitely not like today. Like, it's fine.
not like today at all. And then the dragons were eventually encountered as the Empire started to explore navally, ships and etc. They found islands, they found places, they found dragons. The dragons were intelligent but aggressive and very territorial, eventually leading to a war and causing the Empire to cease its exploration in favor of war with the dragons, which very bloody, very costly, and obviously led to the rise of the Dragon Riders with Niane and Rocknest Evening Spawn.
I feel like Cassandra thought Mithera would find it interesting.
To give you a little bit of more information, the way and all of your dragons may find this interesting too, because Disarden definitely does when it's kind of vocalized. The way wild dragons are named are based on where they're born, what time of the day they're born, and what type of like essentially it could be like grass burrow morning spawn, you know, things like that. So dragons are pretty versatile in terms of eggs, and so they'll bury them places, they'll hoard them places. Basically the most protective thing they can do. Sometimes wild dragons will come out of the egg buried underground and then dig themselves out, and then, you know.
Cute.
So Rocknest Evening Spawn is a dragon born on rock in a nest at evening, and that's how they're named.
It's nice. And the last one is Reynard.
I believe you have Reynard and Hannikin left to go through.
No, Hannikin was the Chimera, wasn't it?
The Chimera was part of the Myths and Legends.
Who's reading Hannikin?
Hannikin was being read by... Let's have a look.
No one.
Oh no, Hannikin's being read by Ultra, Myths was being read by Argent, sorry.
Yeah.
I have it
Okay.
incorrectly.
Oh yeah, you're right. Anakin is also. Yeah. And Perry is Reinhard.
Yes, please.
Reinhardt. Okay. It details probably the most famous encounter, but from the perspective of someone who was there. The standoff, the rising tensions between the hunters and the dragons, with the eventual, from what Master Reinhard says, Niane got sick of killing and wanted to effect some type of treaty. The problem is that there was no ability to communicate between dragons and humans or people, which meant that every attempt, because of all the killing and mistrust that had come before, led to more fighting. Essentially left with no other choice, Niane tried to give a display of intent, where she essentially stepped out and proceeded to cause herself to bleed mortally until dead. Basically being like, look, we don't want to fight, we don't want to kill. Like, it's basically the strongest statement you can make in the scenario, I guess. Leading to Rocknest Eveningspawn to make a gesture of their own to come down, pour their own blood, and caused the melding of Niane's blood and of Rocknest Eveningspawn's blood to form the first meld and the first ability to communicate between humans, between people and dragons. From that, the treaty was formed, essentially binding riders and dragons together as a way to prevent further war, and with the agreement that the riders will help to overthrow the Empire, which at this point was untenable as a power, having done too much damage and oppressed too many. Essentially, the cost of security for people was deemed to be too great to allow them to keep going. And just as a sidebar, one of the issues the dragons raised is that if they allowed the Empire to go on for another 1,000 years, too many people would suffer. The people who'd suffer from a rebellion and overthrowing would be large, but not as large as the number of people who would suffer under 1,000 years. Therefore, it was deemed as a cost-effective strategy, let's call it. Dragons can be unfortunately straight thinking, yeah. And then, of course, the construction of the Vault of Niane, which was an egg vault, part of the treaty between the wild dragons and the riders, whereby the dragon eggs would be brought to a vault to be kept and prepared for the hatching of dragon riders. The vault, of course, is also on Niane's Fall on the Black Rock.
It's a lot of knowledge you just got.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, this is all stuff that the Masters hadn't told you, and it's not easily available in just, like, random reading.
we knew like bits and bobs from like stories of Niane, but not this. So
Yeah.
cool. I think we just probably spend the entire evening bouncing all the info off each other almost.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you want to include Atolla in this, or is it kind of kept away from her?
I feel. Yeah, in the stuff with the primals, I think we would involve her, but like
Yeah.
the eggs and everything, like we don't know her.
I would also say that once she's got what she needed from the law, essentially, like, you know, it's not something they probably have to deal with, at least unless
Yeah.
it starts to encroach. In which case, she says, you know, it doesn't sound like it's something we can fight or is worth fighting, so we would move, which is not a problem, as there aren't many of us, and we are not exactly settled. Okay, thank you for helping me and helping me find what was needed for us. Are you planning on staying here long?
I don't believe we're going to stay here. We'll have to make a move eventually, but were you thinking of returning?
I thought that we could possibly work together if the need arises, but if you are going to be moving along, then that will be harder to find you. But you know where we're located. If you need a day or a night of sanctuary, maybe you can, and she looks at Perry, she says, maybe you can fire one of your little whistling birds to let us know of your approach.
Yes, that would be a good signal. You'd recognize how it sounds, so you know it's not an enemy.
Yes. And then, yes, you're most welcome.
And just exactly where I imagine we've kind of got a overview map of like whereabouts are you staying, so we can sort of. It's a vast continent.
Yeah. It is the largest peak of mountain to the south of the Morsel Ground.
I see. Yeah.
They're essentially just below the snow line on the mountain.
And of course, if there were messages to be left, gosh, where's a good place? Nowhere's great. I'm like, we could leave a message in low hold, but I'm kind of love to do that right now.
What about the small village at the base of the mountain in the snow?
Is it on the map?
Yeah.
Is it Sagacia?
Yeah. She points on the map at Sagacia and says, we've helped them a couple of times with small incursions, and they seem to be friendly enough.
Ultra? Yes, I believe. Would that?
Yeah, you would see Ultra perk up.
Actually, come to think of it, you do wear a garb similar to theirs. So you from?
What do you know of everybody from there? Are they okay?
Yeah. Last we checked was a week or two ago. Of course, everyone is worried, but so far they have escaped any notice of any people aside from us, and there were only a couple of minor incursions, and those were dealt with very quickly.
No deaths, nothing like that.
There was one, but not because of any creatures or anything like that. Just there was a funeral that was being prepared for one of the elders of the village. She passed away in her sleep.
Who? Do you remember the name?
think Chibi can't actually remember the name. It's yes. Elder Silka.
You'd see a moment with Ulcha, who's been pretty slumped over the last bit, kind of perk up hearing that nothing bad has happened to her home. But then it's immediately when they say Elder Silka, just like a balloon letting out all of its air. She passed away?
As I understand it, she had the most years of everyone there. It was peaceful, if that helps.
Yeah. You just thank you for telling me.
Put my hand on her shoulder, like.
Yeah. Rithera's gonna walk up and be like right behind you. And maybe just a hand on your back.
I think you would have all heard of at least one story from Ultra of Elder Silka, so you probably all know the significance to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, I probably talked about Elder Silka the most. Like, if there was like a motherly figure in somebody's life, it would be Elder Silka to Ulcha.
Grandmotherly, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just the fact that it's probably shell shocking because it's like, oh, you know, when you're away from something and you hear news, it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
So just trying to keep herself together, and then kind of glancing over at Ardor, kind of feeling like, I feel like I need to leave, but what good will that do? And like an internal struggle of...
Ardor, you'd remember Elder Silkor as well. She was the one who told you the story.
Yeah. Ardor is gonna like nuzzle like in between who, like, if both Cass and Rithera are there's like a nuzzle of like, okay, yep, I'm here too, and like probably nudging you forward a little bit of like not knowing size, space, like almost like that little puppy feeling again.
Like that kind of like hind legs creeping forward a little as much as possible.
Yeah, but like also like almost like having lost sense of size because like just it's like I'm trying to be here for you.
Yeah.
It's
getting a little like
just
dragons have grown so much they don't know how big they are.
yeah,
like a puppy, like, or a full-size dog trying to climb.
Trying to still be a puppy, like
Yeah.
exactly that. Like,
So I think I reach over and just kind of like instinctively grab Ardor, but it's very much like an out-of-body experience. Like I'm moving and doing things, but I'm kind of unresponsive at the same time, and just feeling like every step of feeling like I'm finding footing, something is taking that footing from under me. And I think the longer she stands there, you notice that she's getting visibly more upset, but immediately starts to meditate right before, like, as her eyes are getting glassy.
Yeah.
And just standing around everybody, just starts meditating without thinking about the people around her.
would you like to go for a flight?
Without saying anything, I just climb onto Ardor's back.
Well, thank you for helping guard the village. Tell her.
It's the job we took on. It's not as much as we used to do, but at least it's something we can do.
And it's still appreciated by your fellow riders.
The minute that I could tell that Ultra was seated, I probably would take off.
And no one really raises any type of concern about it for now. I think I've been away from my duties for too long anyway. Myself and Disarden should probably go. And she like walks over to Disarden and mounts up on the back of him. And she kind of says, "Come on, Disarden, let's go." and there's like an almost reflexive move from Desadin where he almost like takes off, but then kind of stops himself, and he like leans down and looks at all of you and says, "You're all coming to a point where you'll have to decide what to prioritize. We can't fulfill the same duties as we used to. The best I can do is advise to choose the thing that is most important to you and that you can't lose. This is what we have done, and we have come to terms with our decision. Good luck."
Thank you, Desadin.
And they take off and fly back up the hills, up towards the mountains, and up towards the snow.
Do you think Ultra will be okay?
Probably. Needs time.
I think she'll be okay. I think Ultra's going through a lot, though.
It's been difficult for... It's difficult to hear, and she was already a little shaky. But
We'll have to see what we can do when we get back. Maybe, I don't know, having a task and a forward motion helps me. So maybe we all work on focusing tasks and ask Ultra what she needs.
And, is there anything you need with her?
Just a task and forward motion.
Okay. And Perry, how are you feeling?
That's a very broad question about which particular thing.
About just in yourself, I suppose. How, you're okay?
I mean, as okay as one can be with your life being uprooted for months, but yeah.
Good. Then, yes. Well, we'll find our priorities, and we will set a task in hand. I feel like with all this, we have the knowledge base to look at the lurker, and focus on primals and the East as a whole, if that's what we choose to do, rather than the micro aggressions from monsters, I suppose.
I think biggest threats first. Biggest threats first to largest amount of people.
I agree.
Is that debatably Cargilia?
I would say arguably primal turning people into trees, Perry.
That's also bad, don't get me wrong. Just saying this whole side of the world is getting taken over by a city is also not great.
Yes.
But that's not a lurker. That's not a magical force.
No, just noting it.
Sounds like, well, I haven't got magical force, I got mages.
I'm also going to give you a little bit of information that is probably sitting in the minds of Cassandra and Argent to a degree. The way that the Cargilia military is currently operating and set up is units, let's call it armies for the sake of argument, of soldiers who form a
Regiment?
sure, let's call them regiments. The way they operate is in squads of about 20. 15 of whom operate with spears and shields. 5 of whom operate with bows. They operate independently and move around independently to engage enemies. The spears and shields protect the bows, who will skirmish with with any enemy, and they all are kind of anchored by a 50 man command unit, which is a captain, a couple of mages, and a protective shield wall, essentially. This allows them to operate independently and attack important targets without any kind of command, but also reform to respond to any large threat as a cohesive unit, let's call it. Essentially, and this is stuff you got from the minds of the mages. You
Had a little dig.
invaded. Essentially, the tactic is used to deal with the perceived smaller forces of resistance from other places, but also the possibility of a dragon rider emerging to contend, which allows them to deal, essentially the archers can harass and shoot at the enemy, the soldiers can protect those people and also engage if needed. And at the same time, if a dragon and rider turn up, or even if just a dragon turns up, they can all immediately look to the command and converge together to deal with the larger threat. Would be useful with monsters and other things as well, obviously, but, you get the impression that it is a military system that has been thought up by a reasonably creative and young military mind to deal with both problems. Cassandra, she has her thoughts, and I can tell you that, probably at least the mages would have an idea of where it came from, and it is from her brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Unfortunately.
He's smart.
So, before I touch on one last thing, I'm assuming for now you want to forego the story of the Seven Brothers?
Yeah, who had that in the notes? That was the Hannikin, wasn't it? Yeah, Ultra was reading that.
Okay.
So I think
But
she
then
would have
she
been.
flew away.
Yeah, I mean, again, we would have probably touched on the key points as it went on, but
Okay, I can give you the key points then if you like. The Seven Brothers were triplets and quadruplets born to the same family, noble family in the Empire, all of whom became strong and powerful mages. They were at their height in the Empire and at their most influential during the most extreme point in the War with the Dragons. And there were a lot of rumors about experiments, magical, and more, leading to accusations of corruption, insanity, and just generally being horrifically evil beings who weren't even human. At that point, the Emperor and his courtiers decided to essentially deal with them. They were rounded up one by one, captured, executed, essentially burned at the stake as heretics. And that was ostensibly the end of their story. However, that was before the fall of Niane. Which
I see.
makes completely no sense, because two of the brothers were there when Niane fell. Along with that, there are some details from Master Hannekin of the brothers turning up in certain places and causing very large problems. And you know what? Could I get a very quick resolve from Ultra, please?
Yeah.
Sorry. There's there's a small part that could be missed. So it just depends how well she's been researching.
Shoot, I should have saved clarity for this one. Okay. Three success.
Oh, damn. Look at you with your bad self.
Don't act so surprised.
I mean,
That can read.
I can read, okay?
like scroll up a little bit. You've been rolling quite a lot of ones today. I'm just saying.
I did. Yeah, today's not been a strong rolling day.
Today the sheepy dice have not been blessed.
No, I need this. So
So whether you definitely notice this, and it sticks out to you. The accounts of when the brothers resurface still refer to their names, but their descriptions are different. It is posited by Master Hannekin they have somehow found a way to surpass death, and also to essentially live on as magical essence in some form that can possess people. Which, with that context, would explain the fall of Niane if they took over a couple of the dragon riders or dragons that were with Niane, as to why the deaths happened, why the fight was not. There was no detail about the fight or what happened, just that a couple of riders fell. And also the death of Niane.
that's slightly horrifying.
It is. And I would imagine it holds significant meaning to Cassandra and to Argent.
All good.
The only other thing I will ask and touch on is Ultra and Ardor. Are you headed to Sagacia?
I don't
Okay.
think so. Because I've heard that they've been relatively untouched. And if a dragon rider just like swoops on in, being all reactive, it could bring attention to this seclusion that they have. I think the fact that Silka, like it sounds like the funeral already happened. Who knows how long ago it happened? I can't be mad at them for not telling me because they didn't know where I was, if I was even alive. Like, I think at the moment we're just probably flying and I'm processing the information that I was just given.
Okay. In that case, how about we end here, and next episode we can begin on a hillside with Ardor and Ultra. Alright. So we will fade out there for today, with Ultra and Ardor landing softly on a hillside, a fair ways away from the swamp. Okay. Well, everyone, I think that went
Did it?
pretty
Got
decently.
books. We got a lot of books.
Yeah.
Goal was hit.
There were a few unforeseen repercussions of actions. Things happened that I didn't expect to happen, and then things didn't happen that I expected to happen. So that's interesting. The most significant of which was I wasn't expecting any dragon, especially Tourmaline, to go down into the egg vault.
In that corridor.
I've been waiting since the end of season 1 for one of you to be like, I'm a dragon, I'ma go down there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's I wasn't I was like, okay, they're gonna bury it, they're never gonna see the message, that's fine, it is what it is. But it was nice that you got to experience that.
Yay.
So yeah, open table very quickly for any thoughts and stuff. Then we'll do outros, and then we'll head off to other places and other things.
King of the Mountain.
King of the Mountain.
Sheepy likes killing all of our beloveds and families, so
Why do you think Perry wants to go be King of the Mountain?
the only one that we haven't heard about anything yet is Cassandra's family.
Well, they're evil, so
Yeah.
I don't think any of the others are going to cry about that for Cassandra, but that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Oh, because they're evil, they're alive and well. They're just they're living their best life.
This tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, Elder Silka was already Elder Silka and the oldest in the village. Time has passed, and it's been
Definitely trying to break Ultra down.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Poor Ulcha.
I can tell you that because Ultra would know this, the next in line as kind of the head of the village is Elder Jericho.
Jerica.
Jericho.
Okay. Do I know Jerica that well?
Yeah. She is nice, a bit more strict and a bit less understanding than Silka, but essentially a good leader. I would say one of the things that has possibly occurred to Ultra is the similarities between Jerix and Jerica.
Yeah.
Which comes down to a similarity in origin. Your tribe originally originated in the Cassorians, therefore your naming traditions also derive from the same place. So, no relation, of course, but the similarity in names probably occurred to Ultra at some point, where it's like, oh, Jerix, Jerica, yeah, no, so, yeah.
That's what I thought when you just told me, so I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah, you have close ties to the Cassorians, whether you want to or not, unfortunately.
I'm thinking about all this stuff, like going back there. It just doesn't make sense to go back there.
Yeah. Well, and also, it would make a lot of that real.
Yeah, I just, the world's kind of burning and crashing around us. Like, do I want to accidentally, for my own selfish purposes, grieve the loss of someone and then destroy the village in the same process? Calculated risk that
Yeah.
seems scary.
Ultra's dealing as best as Ultra can, as are all of you.
Ultra's a shell of a human and just wants to get a couple romance novels for everybody, okay? Just a couple light reads.
Ardor can read them out loud now.
I thought of this much later after you've gathered all the books and we'd done all the joking and stuff. But I was like considering the color scheme of dragons and everything, there should have been a romance book called 50 Shades of Dragon.
There probably is. I probably picked it up.
Yeah.
Put it in the
Yeah.
Put it in the pile.
put it in the pile.
There's definitely a burn pile for
Wow. You're like
kindling.
Oh,
Sorry.
Books are heavy. It makes sense.
So how about we do our outros and then head off?
Yes.
yes.
Dokele.
Okay. You know what? Let's start with Ultra and Tourmaline and Katie because bad rolls today, and also I killed her elder.
Just insult to injury. I see how it is.
Just killed her elder. It's
Just-
cool.
Just piling on.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Katie Peters Plays. I played Tourmaline and Ultra for you today. You can catch me on Twitch at Katie Peters Plays. We're playing through Resident Evil, the original, right now, from the first time. It's been pretty fun. Also, there's some placid. Wait, is it placid? Plastic?
Placid Plastic Duck Simulator.
Which I've seen Ellie play too, and it's a lot of fun. And we got an alien duck the other day, and it was fantastic. Yeah, you can catch me on Twitch. I have all the other social medias you can find on my Twitch page. And yeah, there's some fun stuff up in the future, so keep your eyes peeled. And now I need to process the fact that you killed Silka. So I'm gonna hot potato it to Ellie.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ellie Elbell on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I am currently playing Minish Cat for the very first time, which is so adorable.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I don't want it to be over, but we're like getting to the end. I'm also playing Plastic Duck Simulator. Now I can't say it.
I thought you were making a joke.
No, it's
Real
legit a game. That every 5 minutes, rubber ducks spawn in.
Oh no, I
and
thought like you couldn't say the word. I thought you were just mocking Katie.
Plastic Duck Simulator. Blame the developers for naming the game.
Correct.
God, I thought it was just plastic duck. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. But yeah, and I like that the alien duck gets turned in from a cow duck.
Mhm.
Very cute. Yeah. That's it. You can find me. I had already said. We're gonna pass it off to Cass, to Tash, to my lovely dragon and Cindy.
Thank you. I'm Tashna. That's pretty much me on all social medias as well. I haven't been doing as much streaming because I haven't. So I play Final Fantasy 14. I'm trying not to play Rainbow Six Siege, but it is difficult, and I'm probably gonna play it anyway. And soon I want to play Dead Space Remake because it looks super good, and I freaking love that game.
It's so good. Anyway.
Oh, I freaking love it. There's so many games and so little time. But that's me. You always play Final Fantasy, and I'm gonna pass it over to Dan.
Hello, I am Domestic Dan. I play Pericourt's Argent, King of the Mountain here, and it's gonna happen now. Like it's just, it was a joke, and now it's not. But yeah, you can find me at Domestic Dan, kind of doing everything 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, pretty much every day, and yeah, do other RP things like 100 Club on Table Story, and then of course this on Fridays, which is great. And yeah, thanks everybody for showing up despite me being very late. Because it was my fault. You can blame me, everyone.
No. I chose to hold. It's my fault.
No, it's not. It's my fault. You could try though. You
Okay,
can try to
it's
take
your
it from me. But yeah, that's me. I have a great time with this show. So it's fun. We're learning all sorts of. Today was like lore drop day, which was
is always fun to have like a few sessions before the show is over, because it gives a lot of good choice.
I'm just a maniac with lore. I can't help myself.
That's fair.
You're gonna have
I
to
think I
write
need to
these
go back.
books.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Like,
Just write
I'm
some
getting to-
novels on Dragon Riders. Like
Just do the Elder Scrolls, where every single book you find has like 10 to 12 chapters.
Yeah, I
of-
got that mod to get,
mean-
the keep and have a library so I could just sit and read all the books.
I would say
Hey.
Good mod.
Warhammer 40k, the Horus Heresy.
Oh, God.
If you ever want your brain to implode, go search Horus Heresy novel chart. It shows you how to read them in order and like chronologically. There's like 50 to 100 books or something silly in there. There's like novellas and audiobooks and everything. It's a giant wall of.
Yep.
Yo, you saw
Found
it?
it.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare.
It's nightmare fuel for anyone who's like, I think I'll get into the lore. And the interesting thing is, all of those novels are just on the Horus Heresy, which is before. Yeah, there you go. That's it there. And
No
that,
pressure. It's
that's-
just like just 2 or something.
that's
It's a goddamn flowchart.
Yep.
That's only novels based on the Horus Heresy, which is a rebellion that happens like 10,000 years earlier than Warhammer 40k.
That's with Warhammer 30k.
30k, yeah. So you've still got all of the other books of current day lore, and there's some other past stuff as well. Like Warhammer 40k is ridiculous. I'm not quite that ridiculous, but sometimes I feel that ridiculous when I write lore. One thing I'll say before I sign off is the quote tweet that I decided to include on the tweet today is knowing and understanding the mistakes of the past is not necessary except when attempting to avoid the mistakes of the future. And seeing as this was a lore drop, I felt it was something fun to point out, because we had a lot of history today and they're all trying to decide their futures.
Yeah, it is important to understand.
It is.
So, yeah, check out the Patreon, check out the Twitter, check out the YouTube, check out the Discord. If you like these wonderful people here who do their own live streams and their own content, just check down below the VOD right now. Click on that follow button because they're awesome and they do awesome things. If you're watching on YouTube, the links to all of them will be below in the description. And yeah, you know what? Let's do something different because pushing for YouTube engagement is something I want to start doing. Everyone watching right now who's got to the end, tell me, what color dragon would you have if you were a rider? I'm actually kind of interested to know what people would prefer.
And if you're watching live on Twitch, you could go to the page and also do that regardless on YouTube.
It's true. It's true.
Do it.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching, everyone. We, as Sheepy turns off the music because usually he delays the outro a little bit because he has to turn off the music and everything. We're gonna go and you're gonna get the outro, which is the most wonderful Savvy Pie's amazing floating clouds, which I love, and the music is awesome. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time. 2 more episodes. Dun dun dun.